Okay, so what we're doing right now is we're troubleshooting the air suspension. Not sure if it's gonna pick it up. We hear slight hissing. So what we did, we put the vehicle in off-road height, and then we pulled out 2 or 3 fuses that are associated with the air suspension. So there's no chance for it to try to self-level itself. And then now we're gonna let it sit. But while we're letting it sit, we can hear some hissing. We'll see if it picks it up on the camera over here on the passenger front. So we're guessing that's probably going to be lowering on its own. Now, we could measure, but I don't think we're going to need to. I think it's going to be pretty drastic. And we hear it sounds like it's coming from the air strut itself, but we're not sure. The valve block is up on this side as well, so we'll see. So I think it's going to be pretty obvious. We do need to get some hood struts. This thing slams down on you on your unexpected, so that's why we got a 2x4 up there. Yeah, so we'll let this sit for a little bit and we'll come back and check the suspension and kind of show you what we look for. All right, so it's only been probably an hour, maybe 2. You kind of already see this driver's rear corner sticking up a little bit higher, and the front driver's looks about the same. So then we go and look at it from the rear, see if you can kind of tell it's leaning to the right a little bit. Come over here to the passenger side, passenger rear, still aired up. We come up to the front, it's passenger, and it's aired down. So it's not completely on its bump stops, but we don't hear the hissing anymore. Now let's get a front view. So hopefully it comes out on the camera. So this is our troubleshooting steps. We raise it all the way up, off-road height, pulled the fuses so the computer doesn't try to self-level. Otherwise, what'll happen if you don't pull the fuses, it'll just, as one bleeds off, it'll lower the other ones to keep the vehicle level. It's part of the computer program. Pulling the fuses takes away that. And if both front drop down, then it would be the good chance it could be the front valve block. If both back drop down, good chance the front or the rear valve block. But since the majority of the issues, and I'll try to get a better reference for you guys, if I put my fist, I have plenty of room on the driver's front. Come around to the passenger front, and I can't even get my fist in there, so it's definitely lowered. So we don't hear the sound anymore. It sounded like it was coming from that airbag, the strut itself. So what we think is when it was in an extended mode, it exposed some of the airbag outside of the shield that's around it, and the leaks more. Now that it kind of deflated itself, the shield is actually kind of reducing how much air loss, which is keeping us from hearing it now, which kind of makes sense, where it drives down the road just fine, don't see any issues, but when we hit some bumps, then we get the air, probably because that bump allows that air to get released from the system, and then when it gets compressed again, it shuts off. So yeah, it looks like we have a faulty strut on the passenger front, which is the way we troubleshot it. Okay, so we have the LR4 and off-road height. I got it running still just to run the compressor, because this is obviously we've got an air leak. All right, so we're gonna measure in the center of the wheel up, and we're right at 20 3/4 of an inch. Now we'll go to the other side. All right. Same measurement. And we're at 20.5. So there's a 1/4 inch difference from one side to the other. And we'll do the same thing on the rear. We'll let it sit overnight. We'll unplug the fuses. Should be good to go. All right. .21.5. Driver's rear. .21.25, maybe 3/8. 21 3/8 on the passenger rear. Okay, we let the LR4 sit overnight. It's pretty obvious. What we already knew was this front passenger one leaked down. You can see the rear. I'm still gonna go around and just measure what they look like. It's been almost 24 hours, I'd say. 22 to 24 hours. We got some storms passing through, had a bunch of rain. Made everything green. So I'll try to do this. Still raining. We're gonna measure. This is the passenger front. And we are at 16 and I'd say 5/8. We'll go to the driver's front. And we'll compare these numbers to what we had yesterday even. Okay. We are at 18 and 5, almost 18.5. Okay, and we'll do the driver rear. And we are at 22.25. Okay, and we'll go around and we'll do the passenger rear. .21 5/8, between 5/8 and half. All right, so pretty confident that the rear is not leaking down, but I'm thinking both fronts, the drivers might be leaking a little bit more, a little bit as well, which explains why it struggles to lift the front. But we'll compare these numbers. One thing to keep in mind on the rear, because the front sagged so much, it could kind of change the rear angle, but we'll see what it looks like. All right, let's go compare the numbers. Okay, so we'll just kind of do a quick recap. What we did is we identified the first air leak was the actual damaged air line. We addressed it. Then we did a test drive with it. We got an error a couple times during different bumps, and it seemed like the air compressor was running an excessive amount, and the front took longer to raise than the rear. So that's when we decided to put it in off-road height, to pull the fuses and test it out. And that's where we identified, looks like both front air struts are faulty. So we're going to get those on order. Now there may still be other things wrong with this air suspension, but at least we're narrowing it down. We have to eliminate each problem and then move on from there. So once we get the new air struts in, we'll swap those out and continue with the troubleshooting. So now we're going to take a look at a few other things we've identified and see what we can figure out. All right, so we're just going to play around with the parking brake. Let's see if we can look at that switch. We pulled that cup holder out. You can see all kinds of goo and magoo, but we also see this little connector that's unplugged, which looks like possibly the connector that goes to the switch. So maybe we'll see what we can figure out there. All right, so after we plugged in that pigtail that was disconnected, it was actually to the parking switch. So we plugged that back in, We cleared the codes, so there's no codes on the dash. It's running, and now I'm gonna trigger an active test. So we're gonna see what happens. It just says plus or minus, which is kind of weird. Why? Dude.
It's done.
We're focusing on one thing. Okay, so switch status. Okay, so we're gonna put it at, we're gonna go back to 100. Then we're gonna execute. Okay, so we're about 105. We're gonna execute. Put it in drive.
Something.
Brake activations. Oh, still not holding it. Okay, stop.
Whoa.
So I'm gonna increase it.
Says you're gonna fall.
We'll just go straight to 300% or 300, whatever that is supposed to be. All right. Execute. So we got one more count go up. You heard the brake?
Yep.
Okay, now put it in drive or reverse, whichever one you want. A little bit of resistance there. Then it releases, huh?
Makes sense.
Which is normal under. So it looks like the brake mechanism underneath is working. It's just our switch isn't activating. We can see that we got activations here, but your switch is staying in a neutral position. Switch error. As soon as we pulled the switch, we got a switch error. And this thing, you can feel, it's kind of, you can almost hear it. It's kind of sticking. So they probably spilled something in there and ruined the switch. What do you think, Ken?
Yep.
So we might pull it apart and see if it's cleanable or repairable. Well, that's what we did. That's the only check engine light. Our codes came back up. You can see parking brake error. That's it.
It's not blinking anymore.
Oh, we decided to pull the switch apart just out of curiosity. Kind of pretty simple. It's got this rubber little boot over it. You can see the stuff that's been spilled inside of it. It's all gummed up. There's little sliders in here, the white parts. They didn't move very freely. We cleaned it up, but it still didn't work. All right, just in an attempt to verify that it is the switch that was faulty, we went ahead and pulled the one out of one of the LR3s. It's pretty much the same switch, just a different top. Plugs right in, and now the parking brake works. So just have it loose in there. Kids are actually thinking that the black looks nicer than the chrome, but we'll see which one's the price difference. All right, we'll get a switch on order, and that'll be one of the last things that we got to worry about. It's hard to make it out on the video, but there's some slack in the chain, more than it should. I'm barely putting any pressure on it. And there's noise on startup and running, so we're going to go ahead and change out the timing components just to be on the safe side. So now, what are we going to do? I'm going to plan on doing the timing, so we're not going to be driving this. We're not going to put it in the shop right now because we got other things. We got to get the LR3 in there and transfer all the parts and put the new brakes on it. Then we're going to do the F350. So right now, what we're going to do, because the weather's perfect for it, I pulled the car trailer over here. We're going to use it as a flat spot. We're going to completely strip the inside because unfortunately, the previous owner was a smoker and it has a smell in it. It's not super strong, so that's a good thing, but the carpet's stained. There's some oil stains on the rear of the back third row seats, so we're just going to do a good detail on it. The way we do it, we pull everything out, including the carpet, and we pressure wash the carpet, then put it all back together. And we'll wipe down the panels and everything. The wife and daughter already did a quick wipe down to get the heavy residue off, but yeah, we'll do a good cleaning on it. So, and while that'll be something we can do while we wait for the timing parts. We're not going to license it until we get the timing fixed. but we're pretty happy with it. It does have a front main leak, which I'll replace that front seal when we do the timing. We'll do a tune-up to it, change all the belts, fluids, filters. We got to drain the coolant anyways. We'll do spark plugs, and I'll inspect the PCV system as well. So right now I'm just going to turn it around, put it in access height so it's easy to get in and out of, start pulling the seats.